Millionaire fires nanny for theft without proof, but what his daughter did. Harrison Sterling trembled with anger as he held the gold wedding band that had belonged to his late wife. The jewel had disappeared from his bedroom the previous week, and now it was back in the very same drawer where it always stayed. His suspicion immediately fell upon Megan, the nanny who had cared for his daughter Chloe for 2 years. "Megan, come here now," he shouted from the foot of the stairs, his voice echoing through the mansion in Greenwich, New York. The 28-year-old woman came running down, carrying 5-year-old Chloe in her arms. The blonde girl had just woken from her afternoon nap and was still drowsy. "Yes, Mr. Sterling?" asked Megan, noticing her employer's furious expression. "Where did you hide my wife's wedding ring?" he fired off without any preamble. Megan's eyes widened, not understanding. "What ring, sir? I didn't take anything that isn't mine." "Don't lie to me." Harrison advanced toward her, causing Chloe to flinch in the nanny's arms. "The ring disappeared last Monday, and today, magically, it's back in its place. You took it, didn't you?" "Daddy, why are you shouting?" Chloe murmured, clinging tighter to Megan's neck. "I swear I don't know what you're talking about." Megan tried to stay calm, but her voice trembled. "I would never touch anything that belonged to Mrs. Catherine. You know that." "I know nothing," Harrison yelled. "You're the only person who goes into my room to tidy up. Who else could have taken it?" Chloe began to cry softly, frightened by her father's aggressive tone. Megan rocked her gently, trying to soothe her. "Mr. Sterling, please, let's talk calmly. Chloe is getting scared," Megan pleaded, looking at the child trembling in her arms. "Don't try to use my daughter to get out of this situation." He pointed his finger at her. "You stole my wife's ring and now you want to play the victim." Tears began to stream down Megan's face. In 2 years working in that house, she had never been treated with such aggression. Harrison had always been a fair employer, though reserved. The loss of his wife 3 years prior had left him bitter, but he had never taken it out on her. "I didn't steal anything, sir. Please, let me explain," she begged. "Explain what? That you returned the ring because you felt guilty? Or because you found out I was going to search your belongings?" Chloe was crying louder now, hiding her face in Megan's chest. The nanny could feel the little girl's heart racing against her body. "Daddy, stop! Megan is good," the child sobbed. "Shut up, Chloe. You don't understand any of this." Harrison completely lost his composure. That was the last straw for Megan. Seeing the child she loved like a daughter being shouted at like that made her find courage. "You can't speak to her like that. She's just a child. Don't tell me how to raise my daughter." He stepped closer. "You're nothing but an employee, a thieving employee." The words cut Megan like blades. She had dedicated the last 2 years of her life to that family, caring for Chloe with maternal love, especially during the times when Harrison worked late or traveled for business. "Get out of my house now," he roared. "Take your things and leave. I don't want to see a shadow of you here ever again." "Mr. Sterling, please, let's talk this over properly. I can prove I didn't take anything." Megan tried one last time. "Get out!" he shouted so loudly his voice turned hoarse. Chloe burst into tears, clinging desperately to Megan's neck. "No, Megan, don't go, don't leave me!" the girl screamed desperately. Harrison tried to pull his daughter from the nanny's arms, but Chloe refused to let go. "Chloe, let her go right now." "No! I don't want to." "Megan, don't go," the child screamed, her tiny nails digging into Megan's blouse. The scene was heart-wrenching. Megan tried to calm Chloe, while Harrison pulled the girl forcefully. Mrs. Martha, the housekeeper who had worked in the house for 15 years, came running into the room upon hearing the screams. "My God, what is happening here?" the 60-year-old woman asked, alarmed. "Megan is leaving, and she's never coming back," Harrison said curtly, finally managing to tear Chloe from the nanny's arms. The girl struggled in her father's arms, stretching her little arms toward Megan and screaming her name between sobs. "I don't understand, sir." "What did she do?" Mrs. Martha asked, confused. "She stole Catherine's wedding ring," he replied, holding Chloe with difficulty. "But, sir, wasn't the ring in the drawer this morning when I went to clean the room?" "Exactly. She returned it because she felt guilty." Megan looked at Mrs. Martha with pleading eyes, but the housekeeper didn't know what to say. She had known Megan for 2 years and had never seen any suspicious behavior from the young woman. I don't want Megan. Daddy, she didn't do anything wrong. Chloe kept crying. Chloe, that's enough. Megan is a thief and can't stay here anymore. She is not a thief, the girl screamed with all the strength of her small lungs. Harrison ran up the stairs with Chloe still struggling in his arms. Megan could hear the girl's screams echoing from the upper floor. Miss, I don't know what to say, Mrs. Martha whispered, approaching her. The boss has been very on edge ever since Mrs. Catherine left. He hasn't been himself. Mrs. Martha, I swear to God I didn't take anything from this house. You know me. Megan was crying silently now. I know, dear, I know. The older woman squeezed Megan's arm affectionately. But the boss has made up his mind. You'd better get your things while he's upstairs with Chloe. Megan went up to her small room on the upper floor of the mansion. She could hear Chloe crying in the next room, still screaming her name. Each of the girl's sobs was like a stab to her heart. She had arrived at that house 2 years earlier, freshly graduated in education, full of dreams and hopes. Harrison had hired her after several rigorous interviews, impressed with her references and her patience with children. Chloe was only 3 years old at the time and had lost her mother not long before. The girl was withdrawn, barely spoke, and spent hours drawing sad figures. Gradually, Megan managed to win the child's trust. She played with her, told stories, helped with her first letters and numbers. Chloe had flourished under her care, becoming a happy and communicative girl. Harrison had always praised her work, even raising her salary 6 months prior. How had everything gone wrong so quickly? She gathered her few clothes in the suitcase, tears blurring her vision. On the bedside table, she found a picture Chloe had drawn of her holding the girl's hand. At the bottom, in the shaky handwriting typical of a 5-year-old, was written, Megan, my second mommy. That made her cry even harder. How could Harrison accuse her of theft when she had dedicated her life to that family, when she had loved Chloe as if she were her own daughter? Megan! Megan! Chloe's voice echoed down the hallway. Megan opened the door and saw the girl running toward her, barefoot and with her little face red from crying. Harrison was right behind, clearly irritated. Chloe, come back here right now. The girl threw herself into Megan's arms, who instinctively picked her up. Why are you leaving? Did I do something wrong? Chloe asked between sobs. No, my love, you didn't do anything wrong. Daddy is just very sad today. Megan tried to explain without crying in front of the child. So, why can't you stay to help him be less sad? The innocent question broke Megan's heart. She looked at Harrison, who had stopped in the hallway with a confused expression. For a moment, she saw a shadow of doubt in his eyes, but soon his features hardened again. Chloe, go downstairs to the living room. Now, he ordered curtly. No, I want to stay with Megan. My princess, Megan whispered in the girl's ear, you need to be strong for Daddy, okay? He needs you now. But I need you too, Chloe whimpered. I know, sweetheart, I need you too, but sometimes grown-ups make hard decisions and we have to accept them. But Daddy is wrong. You didn't take anything. I know you didn't. Megan felt a tightness in her chest. Not even a 5-year-old child believed the accusation. Chloe, please go to your room, Harrison said, approaching. Only if Megan comes with me. She is not going anywhere with you. She is leaving. Chloe looked at her father with an expression Megan had never seen before. It was a mix of disappointment, anger, and sadness that shouldn't exist on the face of such a young child. Then I hate you, Daddy, she said in a low but firm voice. Harrison was visibly shocked. Chloe had never spoken to him that way. Chloe, you can't talk to your father like that, Megan gently scolded her. But he's being mean. He's sending my second mommy away for no reason. Enough! Harrison exploded again. Martha! He shouted. The housekeeper quickly appeared upstairs. Take Chloe to her room and don't let her out until I get back. Yes, sir. Mrs. Martha approached hesitantly. No, I won't go. Chloe clung even tighter to Megan. The scene repeated itself. Harrison trying to pull his daughter from Megan's arms. The girl struggling and crying, screams echoing through the house. Finally, with Mrs. Martha's help, he managed to take Chloe to her room and lock the door. The child's screams could be heard throughout the house. Megan, Megan, come back! Daddy, let me out! Megan! Get out of my house now before I call security, Harrison said to Megan, panting. Megan went down the stairs carrying her suitcase, each of Chloe's screams echoing in her soul. At the front door, she turned to Harrison one last time. Mr. Sterling, I never stole anything from this house. You are making a mistake that will hurt Chloe very much. The only thing that could hurt my daughter is leaving a thief to care for her, he replied coldly, opening the door. I hope one day you discover the truth, she said, leaving. The door closed behind her with a dry thud. Megan stood on the sidewalk for a few minutes, listening to Chloe's screams that still echoed from the closed second-floor window. At 28, she found herself unemployed and without references. Who would believe her word against that of a millionaire businessman? How would she get another job caring for children after being accused of theft? But her biggest worry wasn't about her professional future. It was about Chloe. The girl had lost her mother at 3 and now at 5 was losing the person who had filled that maternal void in her life. And the worst part, she didn't understand why. Megan took the bus back to the small apartment she shared with 2 friends in downtown New York. The entire trip, she could hear in her memory the desperate screams of Chloe calling her name. Meanwhile, in the mansion in Greenwich, Harrison was trying to make Chloe stop crying. The girl had locked herself in the bathroom of her room and refused to come out. Chloe, open the door. Daddy isn't angry anymore. He tried a softer approach. You sent Megan away. She was my second mommy. The muffled voice of the child came from inside the bathroom. She did a very bad thing, sweetie. She took something that belonged to Mommy Catherine without permission. That's a lie. Megan would never take anything from Mommy Catherine. She always said Mommy Catherine was an angel. Harrison sighed heavily. Chloe loved hearing stories about her mother, and Megan always shared fond memories of Catherine based on the stories he himself had shared with the nanny. Sometimes people do bad things, Chloe, even people we like. Megan is not bad. You're the one who's bad. You sent my second mommy away. The term second mommy always stirred something in Harrison. He had been torn between being happy that Chloe had found a mother figure and feeling jealous that she loved someone else besides him. Open the door, sweetie. Let's talk properly. Only if you bring Megan back. That's not going to happen. Then I'm never coming out of here. Harrison knocked on the door more forcefully. Chloe, come out right now. You're being stubborn. I want Megan, she yelled back. The businessman ran his hand through his hair, exhausted. How had a situation that seemed so clear become so complicated? He had caught an employee stealing and fired her. It was that simple. Why couldn't Chloe understand? Mrs. Martha appeared at the bedroom door. Sir, can I try talking to her? Try. I'm not getting through, he admitted, defeated. The housekeeper gently knocked on the bathroom door. Chloe, my dear, it's Grandma Martha. Can you open up to talk to me? There was a pause, then the sound of the lock turning. Chloe appeared with eyes red and swollen from crying. Grandma Martha, Daddy sent my second mommy away, she sobbed, throwing herself into the housekeeper's arms. I know, sweetheart. I know. Mrs. Martha hugged her tenderly. Why did he do that? Megan never did anything wrong. The housekeeper looked at Harrison, who was leaning against the wall with a troubled expression. She had witnessed the whole scene and, honestly, also had doubts about Megan's guilt. Sometimes adults get confused, dear. Your father has been very sad since your mommy Catherine went to heaven, and that makes him confused sometimes. But Megan helped Daddy not be sad. Why did he send her away? It was a very mature question for a 5-year-old, and Harrison had no answer. Shall we go down for dinner? I made your favorite pasta. Mrs. Martha tried to distract the girl. I'm not hungry. I just want Megan back. Sweetie, you need to eat something. I'll only eat if Daddy brings Megan back. Harrison approached. Chloe, I already said that's not going to happen. Now stop this tantrum and go to dinner. It's not a tantrum, she screamed. You did something mean to Megan, and now you want me to pretend everything is okay. I didn't do anything mean. She stole Mommy's wedding ring. She didn't steal it, Chloe yelled with all her might. How can you be so sure? You're just a child. Because I know Megan. She always said that Mommy Catherine's things were sacred. She would never take anything. The conviction in his daughter's voice began to bother Harrison. Children often had sharp instincts about people. Could it be? No. He had thought it through rationally. Megan was the only person with access to the room. Who else could have taken the ring? Enough of this talk, he said curtly. Chloe, you are going to dinner now, whether you want to or not. I won't. I'll carry you to the kitchen if I have to. Go ahead and carry me. I won't eat. Harrison crouched in front of his daughter, trying one last patient approach. Sweetie, I know you like Megan. I liked her too, but she did a very bad thing, and that's why she can't work here anymore. She didn't do anything bad, Chloe insisted, crossing her little arms. How can you be so sure? Because... The girl hesitated as if about to share a secret. Because I saw who took Mommy's ring. Harrison froze. Mrs. Martha also stopped breathing. What did you say? He asked slowly. I saw who took Mommy Catherine's ring. Chloe, this is very serious. You can't lie about something like this. I'm not lying, Daddy, I saw. Then tell me, who took it? Chloe looked at her father, then at Mrs. Martha, clearly nervous. You won't be mad at me. I won't be mad. Just tell me the truth. The girl took a deep breath. It was me, Daddy. I took Mommy's ring. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. The silence that followed was deafening. Harrison felt as if the floor had disappeared beneath his feet. You took it, he stammered. I'm sorry, Daddy. I didn't want to do a bad thing. I just wanted to be close to Mommy. Chloe began to cry again. But how? When? On Sunday, when you went out for a run and Megan was making lunch. I went up to your room and took the ring from the drawer. I wanted to put it on my finger like Mommy used to. Harrison sat down heavily on the bed, running his hands over his face. Mrs. Martha remained silent, watching the scene with a mixture of relief and worry. Where did you put the ring after? In my doll. She has a little tummy that opens, where I keep my treasures. I thought that way the ring would be safe and Mommy would always be with me. And when did you put it back in the drawer? Early this morning before you woke up. Grandma Martha said you were very sad looking for something, so I thought it was the ring. I got up really early and put it back. Harrison felt nauseous. He had accused an innocent person, destroyed someone's professional life, and broken his own daughter's heart over a misunderstanding. Why didn't you tell me before that you had taken it? Because you always get mad when I touch your things. And the ring was Mommy's special thing. I thought you would be really angry with me. But when I started looking, I got scared. You were so upset. And then you started yelling at Megan and I couldn't say anything. Mrs. Martha approached Harrison. Sir, I think we need to talk about this. Harrison was in shock. Everything made sense now. Chloe had always had the habit of borrowing things when she missed her mother. She had taken perfumes, jewelry, and clothes from Catherine in the past. Why hadn't he thought of that possibility? Daddy, are you going to call Megan back? Chloe asked hopefully. The question was like a punch to Harrison's stomach. How could he undo the damage he had done? How to ask forgiveness from someone he had publicly accused of theft? Sweetie, the situation is more complicated than that. But you know now that she didn't take anything. So you can say sorry and she'll come back, right? The simple logic of a 5-year-old exposed the gravity of the mistake he had made. It wasn't just a matter of apologizing. He had destroyed Megan's reputation, humiliated her in front of others, accused her of a crime she didn't commit. I'll try to fix this, okay? Promise? Harrison looked into his daughter's hopeful eyes and felt the weight of responsibility. I promise I'll try. For the first time in hours, Chloe managed a small smile. Can I call her now? We don't have her phone number, sweetie. What do you mean? She always called when she was going to be late. Harrison realized he had never written down Megan's personal number. She always communicated through the house landline or in person. How would he find her now? Mrs. Martha, do you have any contact information for Megan beyond what's in the employee file? I only know she lives downtown, boss, in a shared house with other young women, but I don't know the exact address. Harrison ran to his office to get the file with Megan's documents. There he found only the address she had provided when she was hired 2 years prior. There was a strong possibility she no longer lived there, but it was the only starting point he had. "Chloe, do you want to have dinner now? While you eat, Daddy is going to try to find Megan." "Do you promise for real?" "I promise." This time Chloe agreed to come down for dinner, but Harrison knew he had a long journey ahead to repair the damage he had caused. The next morning, Harrison cancelled all his meetings and drove to the address listed in Megan's file. It was an old building in Newark, clearly inhabited by low-income people. At the intercom he looked for her name but didn't find it. He rang the doorman's intercom. "Good morning. I'm looking for a young woman named Megan Taylor. She lived here 2 years ago." "Oh, Megan. She moved about 6 months ago. Went to live in a shared house in Brooklyn Heights, if I'm not mistaken." Harrison's heart sank. Megan had changed her address and hadn't updated her personal information. How was he going to find her in a city of 12 million people? "Do you know the address?" "No, sir. I only know she went there because it was closer to work." Closer to work. That is, closer to his house in Greenwich. That at least narrowed the search area. Harrison spent the entire day driving around the streets of Brooklyn Heights, going into real estate agencies and asking about women's shared houses. Most people couldn't provide any useful information. When he returned home in the late afternoon, he found Chloe sitting at her bedroom window looking out at the street. "Did you find Megan, Daddy?" "Not yet, sweetie, but I'll keep looking tomorrow." "She doesn't want to come back here anymore because of you," Chloe said with brutal frankness. "Why do you think that?" "Because you were really mean to her. If it were me, I wouldn't want to come back either." His daughter's words hurt more than Harrison expected. She was right. Why would Megan want to come back to work for someone who had publicly accused her of theft? "Maybe she'll forgive me when I explain what happened." "Are you going to tell her it was me who took the ring?" "I'm going to tell the whole truth." "And are you going to apologize for real?" "I'm going to apologize for real." "Promise?" "I promise." Chloe nodded gravely, as if sealing an important pact. "Okay then, but you have to find her soon, because I miss her a lot." Harrison knew exactly how his daughter felt. He was also starting to miss Megan. Not romantically, but missing her presence in the house, the way she took care of Chloe, the tranquility she brought to the domestic routine. For the next 2 days, Harrison continued his search. He placed ads in local newspapers, asked at education colleges, even hired a private detective, all without success. Chloe, in turn, was becoming more difficult to handle each day. She refused to accept any substitute nanny Harrison tried to hire. She yelled at the candidates, hid when they arrived, and threw constant tantrums. "I only want Megan," she repeated tirelessly. Mrs. Martha tried to help, but admitted she wasn't prepared to care for a child full-time. She was already 60 years old and tired easily trying to keep up with Chloe's energy. "Boss, the girl is suffering a lot," she commented to Harrison on a Thursday afternoon. "I know. I'm doing everything I can to find Megan." "And what if she doesn't want to come back?" It was the question Harrison feared most. He had thought about it many times. Why would Megan want to come back after the humiliation she suffered? "I don't know, Martha. Honestly, I don't know." That night, Harrison went to put Chloe to sleep and found her drawing in her notebook. "What are you drawing, sweetie?" "Our family," she answered without lifting her eyes from the paper. Harrison moved closer to see better. In the drawing there were 3 figures, a tall man, a woman with dark hair, and a little girl. They were all holding hands, smiling. "Who are these people?" "You, me, and Megan." "And where is Mommy Catherine in the drawing?" Chloe pointed to a yellow star in the blue sky of the drawing. "Mommy Catherine is in heaven watching over us, but Megan is here on earth, taking care of me." The simplicity with which Chloe had resolved an issue that had tormented Harrison for 3 years left him speechless. For her, there was no conflict between loving the mother she had lost and loving the nanny who cared for her in the present. "Do you think Mommy Catherine would be mad if Megan came back?" "No, Daddy. Mommy Catherine would be happy because I'm happy. She always wanted me to be happy. Harrison lay down on the bed next to his daughter, contemplating the drawing. How could a 5-year-old child have an emotional wisdom that he at 35 still didn't possess? "Daddy, are you crying?" Chloe asked, noticing the tears in his eyes. "I am. Sometimes daddies cry too." "Why are you sad?" "Because I did a very bad thing to Megan, and now I don't know how to fix it." Chloe turned on her side in bed to face her father. "You know what you have to do?" "What?" "Find her and say this: 'Megan, I was very stupid and very mean. Forgive me.' And then she'll forgive you because she has a good heart. And if she doesn't forgive me, then you say it again: 'Please, Megan, forgive me. Chloe is very sad without you.' And you think that will work?" "It will, because Megan really loves me. And when you really love someone, you always forgive." Harrison kissed his daughter's forehead, impressed once again by her emotional maturity. "You are very wise for a 5-year-old girl. Megan taught me that. She always said that forgiving makes the heart feel lighter." On Friday morning, the private detective Harrison had hired finally contacted him. "Mr. Sterling, I found the young lady you were looking for." Harrison felt his heart race. "Where is she?" "She's working at a supermarket in Brooklyn Heights. It seems she couldn't get another job as a nanny after what happened." The information hit Harrison like a punch in the stomach. Megan, with a degree in education and excellent references, was working at a supermarket because he had destroyed her career. "What's the address?" The detective gave him the information, and Harrison left the house immediately, telling Mrs. Martha only that he would return with important news. The supermarket was on a busy street in Brooklyn Heights. Harrison parked and sat in the car for a few minutes, trying to gather the courage to go in. How would he approach Megan? What would he say first? Inside the supermarket, he looked for her through the aisles until he found her in the cleaning supplies section, restocking products on the shelves. She was in uniform, with her hair in a bun and a tired expression on her face. When she saw him approaching, she visibly tensed up. "Mr. Sterling, what are you doing here?" "Megan, I need to talk to you. It's very important." "We have nothing to talk about. Please let me work." "Please, just 5 minutes. It's about Chloe." The mention of the child's name made Megan stop organizing the products. "Chloe? Did something happen to her?" "She's physically fine, but she's been suffering a lot since you left." "And whose fault is that?" Megan asked bitterly. "Mine. Totally mine. Megan, I made a terrible mistake." "Mistake? You accused me of theft in front of your daughter. You humiliated me." "I know, and I'm here to apologize." "Apologize?" Megan laughed humorlessly. "You think an apology fixes what you did?" "No, it doesn't, but it's the least I can do." Megan looked around, noticing other employees and customers were watching the conversation. "I can't talk here. I'll lose my job if my supervisor sees me standing still." "Then let's go somewhere else, please." "I'm not going anywhere with you." "Megan, Chloe didn't take the ring. It was Chloe." Megan completely stopped what she was doing. "What did you say?" Chloe confessed that she had taken the ring to play with. She hid it in her doll and put it back when she realized I was looking for it. Megan's face went through several expressions: surprise, relief, renewed anger. "So you fired me, accused me of theft, destroyed my career because a child was playing with a piece of jewelry? I know how terrible that sounds." "Terrible?" Megan's voice rose in pitch. "You have no idea what I've been through these 2 weeks. No one wants to hire a nanny accused of theft. I had to take this job so I wouldn't starve." "Megan, I know I was unfair." "Unfair?" She interrupted him again. "You were cruel. You knew me for 2 years. You saw how I cared for Chloe, how dedicated I was to that house. And yet you chose to believe I was a thief." Harrison knew he deserved every harsh word she was saying. Her anger was more than justified. "You're right. About everything. I was cruel, unfair, and rash. I have no excuses for what I did." "Then why are you here?" "Because Chloe is suffering terribly without you. She won't accept another nanny, won't eat properly, cries your name all night." "And you think that's my problem?" Megan crossed her arms. "No, it's my problem. I caused all this suffering for both you and her." At least you recognize that. Megan, I know I have no right to ask this, but would you consider coming back? The question echoed through the supermarket aisle. Megan was silent for a few seconds, processing what she had heard. You have the nerve to ask me that, after what you did. I know I don't even deserve a chance, but Chloe deserves to have you back in her life. Chloe has a father to take care of her. A father who clearly doesn't know how to do it right. You saw how she flourished under your care. With me alone, she's withering away. Megan sighed deeply. As hurt as she was with Harrison, her genuine concern was for Chloe. How is she really? Devastated. She refuses to accept that you're not coming back. She's on a hunger strike, won't play, spends the whole day at the window waiting for you to appear. Tears began to form in Megan's eyes. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't stop loving that child. Why didn't you think of her before you accused me? Because I'm a proud idiot who thought he was protecting his family from a dangerous person. I was wrong in every way. You hurt me very much, Mr. Sterling. Very much indeed. I know, and I'll carry that guilt for the rest of my life. Megan looked at her watch and saw her break had ended 10 minutes ago. I need to get back to work. Megan, please, just tell me you'll think about what we talked about. I'll think about it, but not for you, for her. That's all I can ask for. Harrison left the supermarket with a small spark of hope in his chest. At least Megan had agreed to think it was more than he deserved. When he got home, he found Chloe exactly where he had left her, sitting at the window, looking out at the street. Did you find her, Daddy? I found her. And is she coming back? She said she'll think about it. Valentina turned to him with eyes shining with hope. Is she really going to think about it, or are you lying to make me stop crying? The question caught Harrison off guard. When had Valentina become so perceptive? She's really going to think about it. But, sweetie, you need to be prepared for the possibility of her saying no. Why? Because Daddy hurt her very badly. And when we hurt someone, sometimes that person can't forgive. Valentina was thoughtful for a few seconds. But she loves me. And I love her. Isn't love stronger than hurt? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends on how much hurt the person has in their heart. Then we have to show her that love is bigger, right? And how are we going to do that? Valentina jumped down from the window seat and ran to her room. She came back a few minutes later with a sheet of paper and colored pencils. I'm going to make a drawing for her, showing that our family isn't complete without her. Harrison watched his daughter draw with total concentration. On the paper, she drew the same family as in her previous drawing, the father, herself, and Megan. But this time she added details showing how sad they were without the nanny. Crying faces, broken hearts, grey clouds in the sky. At the bottom, in her childish handwriting, she wrote, Megan, please come back. Without you, our house is very sad. I love you so much, Chloe. Can you give this to her, Daddy? I can, but what if she still decides not to come back? Then I'll make another drawing, and another, until she understands that we need her. His 5-year-old daughter's determination shamed Harrison. If a child could be so persistent to win back someone's love, why had he given up so easily on the important people in his life? The next day, Harrison went back to the supermarket. This time, he waited for Megan to leave for lunch and approached her on the street. Megan, sorry to bother you again. Chloe asked me to give this to you. He held out the drawing. Megan hesitated before taking it, but curiosity overcame her resistance. When she opened the paper and saw the illustration, her eyes immediately filled with tears. She could feel the child's pain in every stroke, every chosen color. She drew this last night, Harrison explained. She said our family isn't complete without you. Our family? Megan asked, wiping her eyes. That's what she said. To Chloe, you're not just the nanny, you are family. Megan folded the drawing carefully and put it in her bag. Mr. Sterling, I spent the whole night thinking about our conversation yesterday. And I've come to some conclusions. Harrison waited in silence, his heart racing. First, I will never be able to completely forget what happened. The humiliation, the injustice, the pain I felt. That will be marked on me forever. Harrison nodded, understanding. Second, despite that, I can't stop worrying about Chloe. She's not to blame for the mistakes you made. She really isn't. Third, I miss her too. A lot. These past 2 weeks have been the worst of my life, not just because of the professional situation, but because I felt like I had lost a daughter. Megan, let me finish. Fourth, if I come back, things cannot be like before. You owe me much more than a simple apology. What do you mean? I mean that if I come back, it will be with conditions. Strict, non-negotiable conditions. Go ahead. First, you will apologize to me publicly in front of all the people who witnessed my humiliation. Mrs. Martha, the neighbors who saw the commotion, anyone who heard about the accusation. Done. Second, you will pay me for the 2 weeks I was unemployed, plus compensation for the damage to my professional reputation. What do you think is fair? 3 months' salary. Done. Third, you will never accuse me of anything again without concrete proof. If you have doubts about my conduct, you will talk to me civilly, not shout and throw me out of the house. I completely agree. Fourth, I want full autonomy to care for Chloe's education and well-being. You can give opinions, but the final word on routine, meals, activities, and discipline will be mine. Harrison hesitated at this point. As a father, it was hard to give up control over his daughter's upbringing. Megan, isn't that a bit... It's take it or leave it, Mr. Sterling. You've already proven you don't know what's best for your daughter when you fired me against her will. Either you trust me completely or you don't. All right, I agree. Fifth and last, if you ever decide you no longer want my services, you must give me at least 1 month's notice, so I can prepare and so Chloe can gradually get used to the idea. Agreed, anything else? Just one more question. Why do you want me back? For you or for her? Harrison thought carefully about his answer. Honestly, for both. Chloe is suffering without you, that's obvious. But I also realized our home lost something important when you left. Not just someone to care for her, but someone who brought lightness, patience, real love to our family. And do you think you can trust me again? I think I can learn to trust, if you give me that chance. Megan was silent for a few minutes, watching the street activity. Finally, she took a deep breath. All right, I'll come back. Harrison felt a wave of relief, so intense it almost knocked him over. Really? But with all the conditions I mentioned, all of them, without exception. All of them. When can you start? I need to let them know here at the supermarket that I'm leaving. I can come back on Monday. Megan, I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is a second chance. If you mess up again, there won't be a third. I understand perfectly. And I hope you learned something from all this. I learned that pride and rashness can destroy the most important things in our life. I hope that's true. Harrison went home with a heart lighter than it had been in weeks. When he entered the living room, he found Chloe in her usual spot, at the window. Daddy, did you talk to her? I did. And I have good news. Chloe turned completely around, her eyes wide with expectation. Is she coming back? She is, on Monday. Chloe shrieked with joy and jumped from the window straight into her father's arms. It was the first time in 2 weeks she had shown genuine happiness. Really, Daddy, you're not joking? Really, but sweetie, things are going to be a little different when she comes back. How so? Daddy will have to apologize to her in front of other people because what I did was very ugly. And she'll have more authority over you than she did before. Authority? It means she'll be able to decide about your things even more than before. About what you eat, how you study, your playtime. Okay, I like it when Megan decides. She always decides good things for me. His daughter's blind trust in the nanny made Harrison realize how much he had underestimated the bond between the two. You're not upset that Daddy was so mean to her? Chloe got serious for a moment. I'm a little upset, but Megan said forgiving makes your heart feel lighter, so I forgive you, Daddy. And do you think she'll forgive me too? She will, because she has a very good heart. But you can't be mean to her ever again, okay? Never again, I promise. If you're mean to her again, I'll be very mad at you. Very, very mad. I won't be, sweetie. Never again. The weekend passed slowly. Chloe was too anxious to sleep properly or concentrate on any activity. She spent all her time talking about the things she would do with Megan when she returned, the games they would play, the stories the nanny would tell. Mrs. Martha was also visibly relieved by the news. Taking care of Chloe full-time had been more tiring than she expected. "Thank goodness the young lady is coming back," she commented to Harrison on Sunday night. The girl was pining away without her. "And I'm not young enough to run after a child all day anymore. Martha, when Megan comes back tomorrow, I need you to witness my apology to her." "Of course, sir. The young lady deserves that. And do you think I was too harsh with her?" The employee hesitated. It was delicate for an employee to criticize her employer's actions. "May I speak honestly?" "You may." "Sir, you let the pain of losing Mrs. Catherine cloud your judgment. Megan never gave any reason for distrust. She was always honest, dedicated, and caring with Chloe. When that ring disappeared, you should have talked to her calmly, not jumped straight to accusations." "You're right. Pain makes us make bad decisions sometimes, but the important thing is to recognize the mistake and try to fix it. I hope I can fix it." On Monday morning, Chloe woke up before the alarm and ran to her father's room. "Daddy! Daddy! Megan is coming today." Harrison opened his eyes and saw his daughter bouncing with excitement at the foot of the bed. "Good morning, sweetie. What time is it?" 6:30. "Can I take a bath to look pretty for when Megan arrives?" "You can, but she won't be here until after lunch." "It doesn't matter. I want to be ready since early morning." Chloe ran to the bathroom, and Harrison heard her humming while brushing her teeth. He hadn't heard her sing in 15 days. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. The rest of the morning was a sequence of anxious preparations. Chloe organized her toys, carefully chose the clothes she would wear, even tidied her room, so Megan can see I've been a good girl. Harrison, for his part, was nervous. He had rehearsed the apology he would make several times, but still felt unsure about how Megan would react upon seeing him again in the domestic setting. At 2 o'clock sharp, the doorbell rang. Chloe had been waiting at the window for an hour and shouted, it's her, Daddy, it's Megan!" Harrison went down the stairs on shaky legs. When he opened the door, he found Megan standing on the threshold with a small suitcase in her hand and a cautious expression on her face. "Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling." "Good afternoon, Megan. Please come in." Before she could take 2 steps, Chloe came running down the stairs and threw herself into her arms. "Megan, Megan, you're back!" the girl shouted with joy, clinging tightly to the nanny's neck. Megan lifted her off the ground and spun her around, both laughing and crying at the same time. "Hi, my princess. Wow, you've grown so much in these 15 days. "I haven't grown at all. You just missed me." "I did. I missed you so much." "Me too. Every day I made drawings for you. I want to see them all later." Mrs. Martha appeared in the living room, smiling broadly. "What a joy to see you two together again." "Hi, Mrs. Martha. How are you?" "Much better now that you're back. The girl hasn't given anyone a moment's peace." Harrison cleared his throat, getting their attention. "Megan, before anything else, I would like to fulfill our first agreement." Megan put Chloe down but kept the child's hand in hers. "Mrs. Martha, I want you to be a witness to what I'm going to say now," Harrison began solemnly. "Megan, I sincerely apologize for the unfair accusation I made 15 days ago. You didn't steal anything from this house, and I should have checked the facts before jumping to conclusions. My behavior was cruel, unfair, and unacceptable. I deeply regret the embarrassment and suffering I caused you." "Daddy did a really bad thing," Chloe added, shaking her head in disapproval. Megan nodded gravely. "I accept your apology, and I thank you for making it in front of Mrs. Martha." "I also want to apologize," Mrs. Martha said. "I should have defended you that day. I knew in my heart you hadn't done anything wrong." "Thank you, Mrs. Martha. That means a lot to me." "Can I show my drawings now?" Chloe asked, impatient. "Yes, sweetheart. But first let me put my things away in the room." "I'll help," Chloe offered, picking up the nanny's suitcase. The two went upstairs together, talking animatedly. Harrison watched from the living room, feeling a mix of relief and melancholy. It was obvious the bond between Megan and Chloe hadn't been broken by the separation. If anything, it seemed to have grown stronger. "Sir, can I say something?" Mrs. Martha approached. "Of course." "You made the right decision bringing her back." The girl was fading without Megan. "I noticed. But Martha, do you think Megan will be able to forgive me completely?" "I think that will depend on how you behave from now on. Trust is like a broken vase. It can be glued back together, but the cracks are always visible." "I understand. But if you're patient and show through your actions that you've changed, I think you can rebuild a good relationship." Upstairs, Megan watched as Chloe excitedly showed all the drawings she had made during her absence. Most depicted the two of them together, playing, reading, walking hand in hand. "This one I made the day you left." Chloe showed a drawing in dark tones, with two figures separated by a black line. "And this one I made yesterday, when Daddy said you were coming back." The second drawing showed the same two figures running toward each other, with colorful hearts flying around. "Did you miss me a lot?" Megan asked, stroking the girl's blonde hair. "So much." "I thought you were never coming back." "Why did you think that?" "Because Daddy was very mean to you. If it were me, I'd be really mad and wouldn't ever want to come back. But I came back because you are more important to me than the anger I felt toward your father. Is it true that you love me like I was your daughter?" The question caught Megan off guard. It was something she felt but had never put into words. "Yes, it's true. I love you as if you were my daughter." "And can I love you like you're my second mommy?" "Yes, if you want." Chloe threw herself into Megan's arms again. "So you'll never leave again?" "Not if it's up to me. But sometimes things don't depend only on us, right? What else do they depend on? They depend on me and your father learning to get along well again, on your father trusting me and treating me with respect. He'll do that. I saw he was very sad when you left, not just because of me. He missed you too." "Really?" "Yes. He even cried one day." "Your father cried?" "Uh-huh. On my bed, looking at my drawing of our family. I think he realized you're truly part of our family." "And what do you think about that?" "I think it's good. Family is who loves us, right? And you love us and we love you." The simplicity with which Chloe defined family touched Megan deeply. For the child, there were no social, economic, or hierarchical differences, just love. "You know what we're going to do now?" Megan asked, changing the subject. "What?" "Let's make a tasty snack to celebrate that I'm back." "Can I help make it?" "Of course. You're my official kitchen helper." The two went downstairs hand in hand. Harrison was in his office, trying to concentrate on work, but listening to every sound coming from the kitchen. "Daddy," Chloe shouted, "Megan is going to make a chocolate cake." "That's great, sweetie," he replied, appearing in the kitchen doorway. Megan was tying an apron around Chloe's waist, both smiling and chatting animatedly. The scene was so natural, so familiar, that Harrison felt a tightness in his chest. How had he been capable of destroying that harmony with his distrust? "Mr. Sterling, can Chloe help me make the cake?" Megan asked politely. "Of course, but be careful with the hot oven." "I'm always careful." There was a formal courtesy in Megan's voice that made it clear that, despite having returned, there was still a distance between them. For the rest of the afternoon, Harrison watched from afar as Megan resumed her routine with Chloe. She helped the girl with her schoolwork, organized her toys, gave her a bath, and prepared dinner. Everything flowed naturally, as if she had never left. At dinner time, Chloe insisted that Megan sit at the table with them, something she rarely did before. "Please, Megan, it's your first day back." "All right, but just for today." During the meal, Chloe monopolized the conversation, telling Megan everything that had happened in her absence, the substitute nannies she had rejected, the nightmares she'd had, how she had refused to eat properly. "You gave your father a really hard time," Megan said, glancing at Harrison. "He deserved it," Chloe replied with brutal frankness. "Who tells him to send away the person I love most without being sure of anything?" "Chloe, you can't talk about your father like that." "But it's true. He even said himself he was stupid." Harrison cleared his throat, embarrassed. "It's true. Daddy was very stupid indeed." See? Chloe turned to Megan triumphantly. After dinner, it was time to put Chloe to bed. This had always been Megan's responsibility, but Harrison didn't know if she would take on the task right away. "Megan, can you tell me a story?" Chloe asked. "I can. Which story do you want to hear?" "The one about the princess who left and then came back," Megan smiled. It was obvious Chloe was drawing parallels between the real story and fairy tales. "All right, let's go to your room." Harrison followed them upstairs, staying in the bedroom doorway as Megan helped Chloe put on her pajamas and brush her teeth. Once upon a time, there was a princess who lived in a castle with her father, the king. Megan began the story sitting on the edge of the bed. The princess had a fairy godmother who took care of her and loved her very much. One day, the king got very angry with the fairy godmother because of a misunderstanding and sent her away from the castle. Chloe listened with total attention, clearly identifying the characters. The princess was very sad without her fairy godmother. She cried every day and refused to eat or play. The king realized he had made a big mistake. What did he do then? He went all over the kingdom looking for the fairy godmother. When he found her, he apologized on his knees and begged her to come back. And did she come back? She came back, because even though she was hurt by the king, she loved the princess more than anything in the world. And did they live happily ever after? Megan hesitated. It was a question loaded with expectations. They learned to be happy in a new way. The king never doubted the fairy godmother again, and she never left again, and the princess grew up knowing she was loved by both. "That's my favorite story," Chloe said sleepily. "Is it?" "Yes, because it's our story, right?" "It's our story," Megan confirmed, kissing the girl's forehead. Harrison left the room deeply moved. The way Megan had told the story, transforming the real situation into a fairy tale, showed her sensitivity and wisdom in dealing with Chloe's feelings. When Megan left the room, he was waiting for her in the hallway. "Thank you," he said simply. "For what?" "For coming back, for telling the story that way, for not giving up on us. I didn't come back for you, Mr. Sterling, I came back for her." "I know. And that makes me admire you even more." Megan looked at him with surprise. It was the first time in 2 years that he had expressed admiration for her so directly. "I have a question," she said. "Go ahead." "Why were you so quick to accuse me? Didn't 2 years of living together create any trust?" Harrison sighed, leaning against the hallway wall. "It might sound like an excuse, but ever since Catherine died, I've lived in constant fear that something bad would happen to Chloe. When I saw the ring was missing, my mind immediately went to the worst possible scenario. But why did you immediately think of me?" "Because," he hesitated, "because trusting you meant accepting that you were important in Chloe's life, and I wasn't ready to accept that." "What do you mean?" "I was jealous of how much Chloe loved you. The way she ran into your arms when she got home from school, how she asked you to tell stories instead of me, how she smiled more when she was with you." The confession left Megan speechless. "When the ring disappeared, it was easier to accuse you of theft than to admit that I was losing my daughter to you. Mr. Sterling, you would never lose Chloe to anyone. She loves you unconditionally. I know that now. But at that moment, my jealousy and paranoia spoke louder than reason. And now? How do you feel about the affection she has for me?" Harrison thought carefully about his answer. "Now I understand that Chloe has room in her heart to love several people at the same time, and that it makes her happier, not less connected to me. That's a very mature insight. It took me a while to get there. It cost my daughter 15 days of suffering and perhaps irreparable damage to your professional life." "The damage wasn't irreparable. I'm here, aren't I?" "You are. But things can't be like they were before. They really can't. But maybe they can be better." "How?" "Maybe now we can be more honest with each other, more communicative, more respectful." "I would like that very much." "Then let's try. But on one condition." "What?" "If you ever feel jealous or insecure again, talk to me. Don't let resentments build up until they explode into accusations. I promise. And I promise to be more attentive to your feelings too." Maybe I was insensitive at times, taking on more responsibilities for Chloe than I should have. No, you just did your job with love and dedication. The problem was with me, not you. Megan nodded, seeming to accept the explanation. Well, I think we'll be able to work together again. I hope so. But it will take time to rebuild the trust completely. I understand, and I'm willing to be patient. Great. Then until tomorrow, Mr. Sterling. Until tomorrow, Megan, and thank you again. She nodded and headed to her room. Harrison stayed in the hallway for a few minutes, processing the conversation. It had been more honest and productive than he had expected. In the following days, life in the house gradually returned to normal. Chloe was visibly happier and more relaxed with Megan back. She ate well, slept peacefully, and played with renewed energy. Megan, in turn, resumed her duties with the same dedication as before, but Harrison noticed small changes in her behavior. She was more assertive about decisions related to Chloe, less concerned with asking permission for small things. "I'll take Chloe to the park after her snack," she would announce, instead of asking if she could. "Chloe needs to go to bed earlier tonight. She's a little tired," she would decide, informing Harrison instead of consulting him. They were subtle but significant changes. Megan was exercising the autonomy they had agreed upon, and Harrison was learning to accept that he didn't need to control every aspect of Chloe's routine. 1 week after Megan's return, Harrison came home from work and found them in the living room, Chloe doing homework while Megan read a book beside her. "How was school today, sweetie?" "Great. Miss Sarah said my essay about family was the best in the class." "That's wonderful. Can I read it?" Chloe ran to her school supplies and brought back a notebook. Harrison read the one-page essay, which talked about my special family, the daddy who worked hard to give her nice things, Grandma Martha who made delicious cakes, and Megan who was almost like a second mommy. "It's very good, sweetie," he said, genuinely impressed. Megan helped me think about what to write. Harrison looked at the nanny, who looked up from her book. She just needed to organize her thoughts. The ideas were all hers. "Thank you for helping her. It's part of my job." There was still a formality in their interactions, but Harrison felt it was different from the coldness of the first days after her return. Now it seemed more a matter of establishing new boundaries and relationships. That night, after putting Chloe to bed, Harrison decided to make a proposal to Megan. "Megan, can I speak with you in the living room?" "Of course." They sat on the sofa, maintaining a respectful distance. "I was thinking, maybe it would be good for all of us if we were more informal in our professional relationship." "How so?" "I mean, we can keep the professional boundaries, but maybe we don't need to be so formal in our daily lives. Chloe notices these things and I think it makes her uncomfortable." Megan reflected on the suggestion. "You're right. She's been asking why I don't have breakfast with you anymore, why I don't watch movies in the living room on weekends anymore." "Exactly. She feels something has changed, even though you've come back." "And would you feel comfortable with me being less formal?" "I would. Actually, I'd prefer it. The excessive formality is making the atmosphere artificial. All right, we can try to find a balance." "Great. And Megan?" "Yes?" "You can go back to calling me Harrison. Mr. Sterling all the time makes it seem like we're strangers." She smiled, the first genuine smile she had directed at him since she'd returned. "Okay, Harrison. Much better." From that conversation on, the atmosphere in the house began to visibly relax. Megan started joining family meals again, watching TV in the living room after putting Chloe to bed, talking naturally with Harrison about their respective work days. Chloe, noticing the change, became visibly happier and more relaxed. "Are you friends again?" she asked one night during dinner. Harrison and Megan exchanged glances. "Why do you ask that?" Megan replied. "Because you're talking normally again, not like before, but normal." "And how was it before?" Harrison asked, curious about his daughter's perception. "Before you used to talk and laugh together. After you came back, Megan, you only talked about serious things and never laughed. And now? Now you talk about normal things and sometimes laugh a little. It's almost like before." Chloe's observation made them both laugh, exactly what she was commenting on. "See," she said, triumphant. "That's how I like it." 2 weeks after Megan's return, Harrison faced his first real test of trust. He came home and found neither Megan nor Chloe. Mrs. Martha explained that Megan had taken Chloe for a routine medical checkup that he had completely forgotten to note in his calendar. 2 months earlier, his first reaction would have been panic and suspicion. Where were they? Why hadn't Megan left a more detailed note? But this time he managed to take a deep breath and rationalize. Megan was responsible and careful. If she had taken Chloe to the doctor, there was a valid reason. When they returned an hour later, Harrison was in his office working calmly. "Hi, Daddy." Chloe came running in. "I went to the doctor and he said I grew 2 centimeters. That's great. How was the appointment?" "Megan was right," she said, approaching. "My stomachache wasn't worms. It was just because I was eating too much candy at school." "Really?" Harrison looked at Megan, who entered the room at that moment. "The pediatrician confirmed it was just indigestion caused by the candy," she explained. "He suggested cutting out candy for 2 weeks and increasing fruit intake." "Perfect. Thank you for taking her. I figured you had forgotten about the appointment, so I decided not to bother you at work. You did the right thing." It was a simple situation, but it represented an important milestone. Harrison had managed to trust Megan to make decisions about Chloe without his direct supervision. That night, after putting Chloe to bed, Megan commented, "Thank you for trusting me today." "What do you mean?" "I knew you had forgotten about the appointment when I got here, and you didn't mention anything. I could have called you at work to confirm, but I decided to take responsibility and take her. And you did the right thing. But a month ago, you would have been suspicious if you came home and didn't find us, without a detailed note explaining exactly where we were." Harrison reflected on the observation. "You're right, I would have been, but today it didn't even cross my mind to doubt you. That means we're making progress." "We are. Faster than I expected, actually. Maybe because we're both genuinely trying to make this work. Or maybe because we realize we have the same goal, Chloe's well-being. Probably both." 1 month after Megan's return, they faced a situation that would definitively test their new relationship. Chloe woke up in the middle of the night with a high fever and vomiting. Megan, who always slept with an ear alert for any sound from the girls' room, was the first to arrive. "Harrison!" she shouted while holding Chloe in the bathroom. "I need help here." He woke up immediately and ran to his daughter's room. "What happened?" "High fever and vomiting. I think we need to take her to the hospital." Harrison picked Chloe up in his arms. The girl was pale and hot. "I'll get the car," he said. "I'm coming with you," Megan announced, already changing quickly. "You don't have to, Megan. It's the middle of the night. She'll be calmer with me along, and you'll be calmer too." Harrison didn't argue. She was right on both points. At the hospital, while waiting for care, Chloe snuggled in Megan's lap, who hummed softly to calm her. Harrison filled out the forms and talked with the doctors. "Daddy, I'm scared," Chloe murmured. "You don't need to be scared. The doctors will find out what's wrong and make you all better. Is Megan going to stay here with me?" "I'll stay, Princess. I won't leave your side." Harrison watched the interaction and realized something he had never clearly noticed before. In situations of stress or fear, Chloe naturally sought comfort in Megan as much as in him. It wasn't a matter of preference, but of her having 2 points of emotional support. The diagnosis was a simple virus, but it required observation for a few hours. Megan remained awake all night, monitoring Chloe's temperature, giving her water in small sips, adjusting her blanket. Harrison also stayed awake, but mostly watching Megan care for his daughter with a dedication that went far beyond professional obligation. "You should get some rest," he suggested around 5 in the morning. "I'm fine, and someone needs to keep an eye on her." "I can do it." "I know, but she's sleeping peacefully with me here. If I leave, she might wake up." "Megan, what? Thank you. For coming, for taking care of her like this." "You don't need to thank me. It's what we do for the people we love, right?" The phrase echoed in Harrison's mind. For the people we love. It was no longer a professional matter for Megan. It was personal, genuine, maternal. When they finally returned home the next morning, Chloe was feeling better, but still weak. Megan settled her into bed and stayed in the room, reading stories and offering small portions of food. Harrison cancelled all his appointments for the day to stay home, but he recognized that Megan had the situation completely under control. "She really has a knack for this," Mrs. Martha commented, watching Megan prepare a light soup for Chloe. "It's genuine maternal instinct." "She does," Harrison agreed. "You did the right thing bringing her back." "I did what was right for Chloe. And for me, too. For you. Megan allows me to be a better father. When I'm with her taking care of Chloe, I'm more patient, more attentive, more present. It's good that you recognize that. It took me a while to realize, but our family functions better with her here." "Family?" Harrison stopped, realizing what he had said. "Yes, our family." That afternoon, while Chloe slept and Megan rested in her room, Harrison reflected on how his perspective had completely changed in just 2 months. Megan was no longer just an employee who took care of his daughter. She was an integral part of their family life, someone who loved Chloe unconditionally and cared about the well-being of the whole family. When Megan came down to prepare dinner, he approached her in the kitchen. "Megan, can I ask you a personal question?" "Sure. Do you plan on staying with us for a long time?" She stopped chopping vegetables and looked at him. "Why do you ask?" Because Chloe is very attached to you. And I've gotten used to your presence too. If you have plans to leave soon, maybe it's better I know so I can prepare. Do you want me to leave? No, absolutely not. In fact, I'd really like you to stay. Indefinitely. Megan smiled. Then don't worry. I have no plans to go anywhere. This has become my family too. Family? Haven't you realized yet? I don't work here anymore. I live here. I'm part of this house, this routine, this life. Chloe is like a daughter to me, and you two are, well, you're the most important people in my life. The confession touched Harrison deeply. He had been so focused on his own feelings and insecurities that he hadn't realized Megan had also genuinely become attached to the family. "I didn't know you felt that way. How could you know? We've never talked about these things openly." "That's true. Maybe we should talk more. Maybe we should." "Megan, can I be honest about something?" "Of course. I like having you here, not just because you take good care of Chloe, but because your presence makes our house more complete." "How so?" "There's a lightness, a joy, a harmony when you're here that doesn't exist when you're not. As if you filled a space we didn't even know was empty." "I feel the same way. When I left, I didn't just miss Chloe. I missed this house, this routine, even you." "Me?" "Our occasional conversations, seeing you interact with Chloe, being part of your daily life." "So we're agreeing this is more than a professional relationship?" "We are, but that doesn't mean we need to formally change anything, just to acknowledge we're an unconventional but genuine family." "Unconventional?" "A widowed father, a nanny who became almost an adoptive mother, and a girl with enough love in her heart to embrace all these complexities." Harrison laughed. "When you put it like that, it really does sound like an unconventional family. But it works for us. It works perfectly. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. 3 months after Megan's return, life in the house had found a new balance. Chloe was happier and more secure than ever. Harrison had learned to trust Megan completely, and she had established herself as a stable maternal figure in the child's life. But the true test of how deeply their lives had become intertwined would come on a Saturday afternoon when Megan received an unexpected call. "Megan, it's me, Courtney, your sister." Megan tensed up immediately. She hadn't spoken to her sister in over a year, and Courtney never called unless she wanted something. "Hi, Courtney, what happened?" "Nothing major, it's just, well, Derek and I are completely over, you know, and I'm kind of adrift here in Los Angeles." "I'm sorry, but I don't understand what this has to do with me." "Well, I was thinking. Remember you always said if I ever needed anything I could count on you?" Megan sighed. She knew her sister well enough to know where the conversation was headed. What do you want, Courtney? I got an amazing job offer in Chicago at a multinational company. Salary 3 times higher than anything I could get here in LA. That's good for you. But I need someone to help me with the moving expenses, rent for the new place, that sort of thing, just until I get my first paycheck. How much do you need? About $15,000. Megan almost dropped the phone. $15,000 was almost a year's worth of the salary she earned taking care of Chloe. Courtney, I don't have that kind of money. But you work for a millionaire. Surely you can borrow it from him, right? That's not how it works. Oh, Megan, please. It's my chance to start over. And you know I've always helped you when you needed it. That wasn't true, and they both knew it. Courtney had always been the irresponsible sister who only showed up when she needed money or favors. Courtney, I work as a nanny. I don't have access to my employer's money for personal loans. Then ask him to lend it to you. Didn't you say he likes you a lot? It's not a matter of liking, it's a matter of professionalism. Professionalism? Megan, you live in the man's house. Surely you have a closer relationship than that. The conversation was making Megan extremely uncomfortable. She could feel Harrison and Chloe watching her from the living room, sensing her tension. Courtney, I have to go, I'm working. Megan, wait. I really need this help. It's my last chance at a better life. And I'm sorry about that, but I can't help you the way you're asking. You've changed, Courtney said with an accusatory tone. Ever since you started working for these rich people, you've forgotten your family. I haven't forgotten anything, but I've also learned to have boundaries. Boundaries? I'm your sister? And that's exactly why you should understand I can't help you. The conversation went on for a few more minutes, with Courtney alternating between pleas and accusations. When she finally hung up, Megan was visibly shaken. Are you okay? Harrison asked, moving closer. I was, yes, just a family problem. Do you want to talk about it? Megan hesitated. It was the first time he had offered to listen to her personal problems. I don't know if it's appropriate. Megan, we're a family, remember? Families share problems. She looked at him, then at Chloe, who was drawing on the sofa but clearly paying attention to the conversation. Chloe, how about you go play in your room for a little while? Daddy and Megan are going to talk about boring adult stuff. Can I take my crayons? You can, Megan replied. When they were alone, Harrison sat down next to Megan on the sofa. What happened? My sister called asking to borrow money. A lot of money. How much? $15,000. Harrison let out a low whistle. That's a considerable amount. For me, it's impossible, but she thinks, well, that since I work for you, maybe I could get a loan. Get it from me, you mean? I told her that's not how our relationship worked, but she insisted. Harrison was thoughtful for a few seconds. And would you like to help her? I would, yes. Despite all the problems we've had, she's my sister. But I have no way to. What if I lent you the money? Megan looked at him shocked. Harrison, no. I can't accept that. Why not? Because it would be mixing our professional relationship with personal matters in a very complicated way. Megan, our relationship has been personal for a long time. You said yourself we're a family. But this is different. Accepting borrowed money to solve problems with my biological family would create a debt that would change the whole dynamic between us. Harrison could see the conflict on her face. What if it wasn't a loan? What do you mean? What if it was a bonus, a reward for the exceptional work you've done these past few months? Harrison, no. Think of it this way. You went through a very difficult situation because of me. You lost 2 weeks' salary, had to accept a job with lower pay, suffered damage to your professional reputation. I think I owe you compensation beyond what I've already paid. But $15,000 is a lot of money. For me, it isn't. And if it can solve an important family problem for you, I'm happy to help. Megan fell silent, clearly torn between gratitude and worry about accepting such a large sum. I don't know, Harrison. It seems like too much. Then let's do it this way. You accept it as an advance on your year-end bonus for the next 2 years, so it's something you'll get anyway, just early. You would really do that? I would, because you're part of our family, and families help each other. Tears began to form in Megan's eyes. "I don't know what to say. Just say whether you'll accept or not." "I accept, but with one condition." "What is it?" "I want a formal contract specifying it's an advance on future pay, not a personal favor, so there are no misunderstandings in the future." "Done. And another condition. If I ever decide to leave this job before the 2 years are up, I'll pay back the full amount." "Also done." Megan stood up and, to Harrison's surprise, hugged him. "Thank you. Not just for the money, but for treating me like real family." "You are real family." When Megan called her sister back and said she could help her, Courtney was euphoric. "I knew you could do it. You were always the responsible sister." "Courtney, this money isn't mine. It's an advance on my salary, so you need to pay me back as soon as you get settled in Chicago." Of course. As soon as I get my first paycheck, I'll transfer it all to you." Megan doubted this would happen. She knew her sister's financial irresponsibility all too well, but decided to give her the benefit of the doubt. A week later, when she transferred the money to Courtney, she felt light for having been able to help her sister, but also grateful to have a chosen family that supported her unconditionally. "Was it worth it?" Harrison asked on the night after the transfer. "It was. Not just for helping my sister, but for realizing I have people who genuinely care about me." "You always have. It just took us a while to express it properly." "That's true." 2 weeks later, Megan received another call from Courtney. "Megan, I have some bad news." "What happened?" "The company decided not to hire me. They said the position was cancelled." "Oh, I'm so sorry." "What now?" "Well, I already spent the money on the move, so I won't be able to pay you back any time soon." Megan sighed. It was exactly what she had predicted. "Courtney, you spent $15,000 in 2 weeks. Rent for the new house, furniture, work clothes, the car I had to buy. You bought a car. I needed transportation. How was I going to work without a car?" Megan realized her sister had used the money completely irresponsibly, knowing she didn't have a guaranteed job. "And what are you going to do now?" "Well, I guess I'll have to go back to Los Angeles, or maybe I can find something there in New York. Can't you get me a job at the house where you work?" "Courtney, no." "Why not?" "Surely they need another maid." "First, because that's not how it works. Second, because you just wasted $15,000 completely irresponsibly." "I didn't waste it. I invested in my future." "You invested by buying furniture and clothes before you were sure you had a job?" The conversation deteriorated quickly, with Courtney accusing Megan of not caring about family, and Megan trying to explain that there are limits to help when a person doesn't learn from their own mistakes. When she hung up, Megan was visibly upset. "Problems with your sister again?" Harrison asked, having overheard part of the conversation. "She spent all the money and now doesn't have the job anymore. She wants me to ask for work for her here." "And you don't want her to work here?" "Definitely not. Courtney is irresponsible, impulsive, and has a tendency to create drama wherever she goes. It would be a disaster." "Then don't feel guilty for saying no." "But she's my sister, and you've already helped her beyond what was required. It's not your responsibility to solve all her problems, especially when she creates them herself." "Sometimes I feel I'm too hard on her." "Megan, look at how you treat Chloe when she makes mistakes. You're firm when you need to be, but always with love and patience. Your sister is an adult and needs to learn to deal with the consequences of her choices." Harrison's perspective helped Megan feel less guilty. He was right. There was a difference between helping and enabling irresponsible behavior. In the following months, Courtney continued to call occasionally, always with a new financial or emotional crisis. But Megan had learned to set clear boundaries, offering emotional support without solving her sister's practical problems. "You're getting stronger," Harrison commented after one of these calls. "I'm learning. And having a stable family helps me see what healthy relationships are and what they aren't." "How so?" "Here at home, we all support each other, but we also all take responsibility. Chloe is learning that. You practice it. I try to do my part. It's balanced." "And with your sister, it's not balanced?" "With Courtney, it's always been me giving and her receiving. There's never been real reciprocity." And now you can see this clearly. I can, and I can set boundaries without feeling guilty. The situation with Courtney ended up strengthening the bond between Meghan and the Sterling family even more. Harrison admired the mature way she handled complicated family problems, and Meghan felt even more grateful to have a chosen family that respected and supported her. 6 months after her return, Meghan and Harrison had developed a solid partnership in raising Chloe. They regularly talked about the girl's development, made joint decisions about her education and extracurricular activities, and presented a united front when she tested limits. "You know what I've noticed?" Meghan commented one night after they had put Chloe to sleep. "What?" "Chloe is becoming more emotionally mature, less impulsive, more capable of expressing her feelings with words." "True. Do you think it's natural growth or the result of the stability she has now?" "I think it's a bit of both, but mostly the stability. She knows she can count on us, that we're not going to disappear from her life overnight." "That reminds me, you haven't mentioned career plans anymore. Don't you feel like working at a school, getting a master's degree, those things?" Meghan reflected on the question. "I used to, but I discovered my real calling is caring for children individually, not in a group. And specifically this child, this family. You don't feel professionally limited? I feel fulfilled, which is different. I'm helping to shape a human being in a complete way, not just teaching academic content." "And personally? Don't you miss dating, starting your own family?" It was a personal question Harrison had never asked, but which had piqued his curiosity for months. "I think about it sometimes," she admitted, "but it would be very difficult to find someone who understood that Chloe is a priority in my life. And honestly, I feel so fulfilled here that I don't feel an urgent need to look for something different. And if you met someone special, it would have to be someone who saw you too as part of the package, who understood that I won't give up this family I've built." The answer touched Harrison deeply. Meghan had actively chosen to stay with them, even though she had other life options. "And you?" she asked. "Do you never think about getting married again?" It was the first time she had asked such a personal question, and Harrison was surprised by his own reaction. Instead of discomfort, he felt a desire to be completely honest. "I think about it sometimes, but it would be complicated to find someone who understood our family dynamic." "How so?" "Any woman I dated would have to accept that you are a permanent and meaningful part of our lives, and I don't know if many people would understand that." "Do you think people would see our relationship as problematic?" "I think some people wouldn't understand that it's possible to have a close and affectionate relationship that isn't romantic, especially in a domestic arrangement like ours." "That's true. Society has difficulty with relationships that don't fit into traditional categories." "Exactly, and I'm not willing to sacrifice Chloe's stability or our friendship for that." "Friendship? That's what we are, right? Friends who became family. It's a definition that makes me comfortable." That night, both went to sleep thinking about the conversation they had had. There was something comforting in knowing that they both prioritized the family they had created over hypothetical romantic possibilities. 1 year after Meghan's return, life in the Sterling household had found an almost perfect rhythm. Chloe, now 6 years old, was in first grade and excelling academically. She was a confident, communicative, and emotionally balanced child. "Miss Sarah said that Chloe is one of the most mature students in the class," Meghan reported after a parent-teacher conference. "In what way?" "She resolves conflicts with other children through dialogue, doesn't throw tantrums when she doesn't get her way, and shows genuine empathy for her classmates." "It's the result of the stable environment she has at home," Harrison commented. "It's the result of the teamwork we do. You are a present and caring father, and I complement that with educational and emotional aspects. She gets the best of both worlds. Speaking of which, I need to tell you something." "What?" "I received a promotion offer at work." Meghan felt her stomach knot up. Professional changes usually meant changes to the family routine. "What kind of promotion?" "Regional directorship. It would mean more responsibility, more money, but also more travel." "How much travel?" 1 week a month on average. Sometimes 2. Meghan became thoughtful. She had taken care of Chloe during Harrison's occasional trips before, But such a regular schedule would be different. What do you think? He asked. I think it depends on how Chloe would react. She's at a stage where she needs stability. That's why I want to talk with you before making any decision. Do you want to accept the promotion? I do. It would be a significant step forward in my career, but not if it means instability for Chloe. Why don't we talk to her? We explain the situation in an age-appropriate way and see how she feels. Good idea. That evening, during dinner, Harrison brought up the subject. Chloe, Daddy received a new job offer. Want to know what you think? What kind of job? It would be the same work I do now, but as the boss of more people. It would mean I'd earn more money for our family. That's good. Yes, but it would also mean I'd have to travel more, be away for a few days every month. Chloe stopped eating and looked at her father, then at Megan. How many days? 1 week a month, sometimes a little more. And Megan would stay with me? She would. And you'd always come back? Always. It would just be work, then I'd come back home. Chloe was thoughtful for a few minutes. Can I ask something? Of course. If you accept this new job, will our life get better or worse? The question caught Harrison off guard. It was a very direct way for a child to approach a complex issue. In some ways better, in others maybe harder. How so? Better because we'd have more money to do fun things like family trips, special activities for you. Harder because Daddy would spend less time at home. But I already spend a lot of time just with Megan when you work late. That's true. And when you are home, we always play together, right? Yes. So if on the other days you keep playing with me, it doesn't matter if sometimes you travel. Chloe's simple logic made them both smile. But there's one condition, she added. What? When you travel, Megan is in charge of everything, just like when you go to work. She can decide things without calling you all the time. Why do you want that? Megan asked, curious. Because when Daddy calls from work to ask if I can do something, you always get confused about whether to let me or not. But when he doesn't call, you decide normally, and we have more fun. Once again, Chloe's sharp perception surprised the adults. She had noticed that Megan felt less secure about her authority when Harrison was monitoring from a distance. That makes sense, Harrison admitted. If I'm traveling, Megan will be in charge of everything anyway. No interference from me. Then I think you should take the new job, Chloe concluded, but only if you promise that when you come back from trips, you always bring a present. Always? Harrison laughed. Always. It doesn't have to be expensive. It can be a pretty stone, a flower, a drawing, but something that shows you thought of me when you were away. I promise. And for Megan too. For me? Megan asked, surprised. Of course. She's part of the family too, and she'll be taking care of me all alone when you're traveling. Harrison looked at Megan, who was clearly moved that Chloe had thought of her. I promise I'll always bring something for Megan too. Then it's settled, Chloe announced. Daddy accepts the new job, makes more money, always brings presents, and we'll be happy. The simplicity with which the child had resolved an issue the adults considered complex left them impressed. Any other worries about Daddy's trips? Megan asked. Just one. What? Can I sleep in your bed when he's not home? Harrison and Megan exchanged glances. Chloe had always slept in her own room, but it was natural she'd feel less secure with her father away. You can sleep with me in my room, Megan offered. In your room, but your bed is small. Then we'll sleep together in Daddy's big bed. What do you think? She asked Harrison. I think that's great. The bed is big enough for you two, and that way Chloe will feel safer. Perfect, Chloe clapped her hands. It'll be like a slumber party. With Chloe's enthusiastic approval, Harrison accepted the promotion. His first trip was scheduled for 3 weeks later. In the days leading up to the trip, Megan and Chloe planned special activities to do during Harrison's absence. Movies, the park, a zoo visit, an afternoon of baking. You'll have so much fun you won't even miss me, he joked. We will miss you, Chloe corrected, but we'll have fun too. On the morning of his departure, Chloe helped her father pack, checking he hadn't forgotten anything. Toothpaste? Got it. Pajamas? Got it. A picture of us so you don't forget us? Harrison showed his wallet. where there was a photo of the three of them taken at Chloe's birthday. "Very good. Now you can travel." When it was time to say goodbye, Chloe hugged him tightly. "Come back soon, Daddy." "I will, and I'll call every day to see how you're doing." "You can call, but Megan gets to decide things, remember?" "I remember." Harrison said goodbye to Megan with a friendly hug. "Thank you for taking care of everything." "No need to thank me, I'm happy to do it. If there's any problem—" "There won't be a problem. And if there is, I know how to handle it." "I know you do." After Harrison's departure, Megan and Chloe established a routine slightly different from the usual. They had breakfast talking about the day's plans. Megan took Chloe to school and picked her up at the normal time, but the afternoons were dedicated to more free and creative activities. "It's different when Daddy isn't here, huh?" Chloe commented on the second night. "Different how?" "Calmer. You worry less about things." "What do you mean?" "When Daddy is here, you always ask if you can do this or that. When he's not, you just do it." Megan reflected on the observation. It was true. Even after all the progress in her relationship with Harrison, she still felt an unconscious need to validate her decisions with him when he was present. "And you prefer it when I just do it?" "I do, because then you're more yourself." "What do you mean, more myself?" "When you're not worried about what Daddy will think, you're more fun, more relaxed. Like when he traveled before, but you hadn't come back to us yet." Chloe was referring to the rare previous occasions when Harrison traveled for work, when there were still unresolved tensions between him and Megan. "You remember that time?" "I remember. You were stiffer, more serious. Now you feel lighter." Chloe's perception made Megan realize something important about herself. Despite all the progress in her relationship with Harrison, she still carried a slight insecurity about her authority in the house. "You know what we're going to do," Megan said. "What?" "When Daddy gets back, I'm going to keep being more myself. And you remind me if I start worrying too much about what he'll think." "Deal." Harrison's first trip lasted 5 days. He called every night to talk to Chloe and hear about her day. The conversations were cheerful and relaxed, with Chloe recounting her adventures and discoveries. On the last day of the trip, Harrison called during dinner. "How are my favorite girls?" "We're good," Chloe answered on speakerphone. "Megan taught me how to make cookies today." "That's great. And how was school?" "The teacher said my essay about family was the most creative in the class." "What did you write?" "I wrote that my family is special because my daddy works to give me all the good things. Megan takes care of me like a second mum, and Grandma Martha makes the best cakes in the world, and that even when Daddy travels, our family is still complete, because love doesn't need to be in the same place to exist." Harrison was moved by the emotional maturity of his 6-year-old daughter. "That's a very beautiful essay, sweetheart." "The teacher asked if I didn't miss having a normal mother. I said no because Megan is better than a normal mother." "Why do you think that?" "Because a normal mother you get as a gift when you're born. I earned Megan because she really loves me, not because she has to." The sentence left Harrison speechless for a few seconds. Megan, who was listening to the conversation, was also visibly moved. "Daddy, are you there?" Chloe asked. "Yes, sweetheart. I was just moved by what you said. It's true. Megan could have left after you were mean to her, but she came back out of love, not obligation." "That's true. That's why she's special, and that's why our family is special." When they hung up, Megan had to wipe her eyes. "She's amazing," Harrison said when he called again, now just to talk to Megan. "She really is. Sometimes I forget she's only 6. "Megan, can I tell you something?" "Of course." Hearing Chloe talk about our family that way made me realize how important you both are in my life. I can't imagine what it would be like without you here. I can't imagine being anywhere else. So we're on the right track? We're on the right track. On the day of Harrison's return, Chloe woke up early and insisted on helping Megan prepare a special welcome home dinner. She made a new drawing, this time depicting the three of them hugging with the phrase Sterling Taylor family written underneath. "Why Sterling Taylor?" Megan asked. "Because Sterling is Daddy's, Taylor is yours, so our family has both names." When Harrison arrived in the afternoon, he was greeted with enthusiastic hugs and a tour of the projects Chloe had developed during his absence. "And this is the herb garden I planted with Megan." She proudly showed some pots on the balcony. "And this is the new shelf I organized for my books." She pointed to the bedroom. "And this is the drawing of our complete family." She handed over the illustration. Harrison looked at the drawing for a long time. "Sterling Taylor family. Do you like it? It was my idea." "I like it very much." During dinner, he distributed the promised gifts, a New York keychain for Chloe and a small pot of plants typical of the region for Megan. "I thought you could plant it with the herbs you started," he explained. "It's perfect, thank you." "So how was it taking care of the women of the house alone?" he asked Megan. "It was great, natural, no complications." "She was incredible," Chloe interrupted. "She let me help cook, taught me new things, and didn't keep asking you if she could do things." Harrison laughed. "Is that so?" "Yes," Chloe continued. "And you know what I noticed?" "What?" "When you're here, sometimes Megan gets scared to make decisions, but when you're not, she decides everything super well." "That's an interesting observation," Harrison said, looking at Megan. "Chloe is right," Megan admitted. "I still have a tendency to seek your approval for things I should decide naturally." "Why? I think it's a leftover from when you doubted my decisions, an insecurity I haven't completely overcome yet." "I understand. And what can we do to change that?" "Maybe you could consciously give me more autonomy when you're home too, and I need to consciously stop seeking your approval for routine decisions." "That makes sense." "I can help," Chloe offered. "How?" "I can tell you when you're doing weird things, like when Daddy wants to control too much, or when Megan gets too insecure." The 6-year-old's proposal to be the family mediator made them both laugh. "That's an interesting offer," Harrison said, "but I think we can handle it ourselves. But if you need help, you can call me. I understand both of you very well." It was true. Chloe had become a sharp observer of the family dynamic and often made comments that surprised the adults with their accuracy. With the success of the first trip, Harrison felt confident accepting the next ones. Over the following months, a routine was established. 1 week per month he traveled, and Megan took full responsibility for the house and Chloe. These weeks became special periods of connection between Megan and Chloe. They developed their own traditions: movies on rainy afternoons, cooking experiments on weekends, creative projects on free nights. "You know what else I like when Daddy travels?" Chloe asked one night while they made popcorn to watch a movie. "What?" "Having you all to myself. During the day at school, I think about the things I'm going to tell you, and at night we stay up talking later." "And when Daddy is here, you don't have that?" "I do, but it's different. When he's here, I want attention from both of you. When he's not, all your attention is mine." "And that's good?" "It's great. Because then you know me better. You know things about me that sometimes even Daddy doesn't know." "What kind of things?" "Like that I'm afraid of the dark, but only when I'm alone. With you beside me, I'm not afraid. Or that I pretend I don't like broccoli, but I actually do when you cook it a special way." Megan smiled, recognizing that she had indeed developed a special closeness with Chloe during these times alone. "And you like these things that only I know?" "I do, because it makes me feel like I have a special bond with you, different from the one I have with Daddy." "Different how?" "With Daddy, it's a daughter's love. With you, it's love like a best friend who's also almost a mommy." The definition, though from a child, perfectly captured the unique relationship they had developed. 6 months after Harrison's regular travels began, the family dynamic had found its perfect balance. Chloe was thriving academically and emotionally, Harrison was fulfilled professionally, and Megan had found complete confidence in her role in the family. One evening after one of Harrison's trips, the three were in the living room watching a family movie when Chloe asked an unexpected question. "Do you think our family is different from others?" "Why do you ask?" Harrison replied. "Because at school, the other kids always talk about Mom and Dad. When I say I have a dad and Megan, they ask if she's my stepmom." "And what do you say?" That she's my second mommy. But sometimes they get confused." "And does that bother you?" Megan asked. It doesn't bother me, it just makes me wonder if we're weird. Harrison paused the movie and turned to face his daughter. Chloe, what makes a family a family? Love. Exactly. And do we love each other? Very much. Then we are a family. It might be different from others, but it's our family. And that's what matters. But sometimes I wish it were easier to explain to people. I understand, Megan said, but you know what I've learned? We don't need other people to understand our family for it to be valid and special. Really? Yes. What matters is how we feel about each other, not what other people think about us. And how do you feel about our family? Chloe asked. Harrison looked at Megan, then at his daughter. I feel complete. I feel like we have everything we need to be happy. And I feel loved and important, Megan added. I feel like I've found my place in the world. So we're perfect in our own way? We're perfect in our own way, they both answered together. Chloe smiled and snuggled between them on the couch. So, it doesn't matter if we're different. It matters that we're happy. Exactly, Harrison agreed. And that we love each other very much, Megan finished. And that we'll always take care of each other, Chloe concluded. They resumed the movie, but Harrison and Megan kept thinking about the conversation. Chloe's emotional maturity at 7 years old was impressive, and both knew it was the result of the stability and love she received. Later that night, after putting Chloe to bed, Harrison and Megan talked about the future. Sometimes I wonder what it will be like when she's a teenager, Megan commented. Why? Teenagers question authority, test boundaries. What will it be like having two parental figures who aren't married? I think it will be like it is now, natural because it's all she's ever known. I hope so. And if it's not, we'll figure out how to handle it. Together. Together, Megan repeated, liking the word. Megan, can I ask you a question? Of course. Do you regret anything? About your life, your choices, about staying with us? Megan thought carefully about her answer. I don't regret anything important. Sometimes I think about what it would have been like if I'd taken a more traditional path, but not with sadness or regret, more with curiosity. And you? Do you regret firing me that day? It's paradoxical, but not completely. How so? It was a horrible situation that caused unnecessary pain, but it also forced us to reevaluate our relationship and build something more solid and honest. That's an interesting way to see it. If it hadn't happened, maybe we'd still be in a formal professional relationship without this intimacy and trust we have today. True. Sometimes the worst things lead to the best results. Exactly. 2 years after Megan's return, the Sterling Taylor family, as Chloe still called it, was closer than ever. Chloe, now 8, was a confident, affectionate, and academically brilliant child. Harrison had been promoted again and managed to reduce his trips to only once every 2 months. Megan had become not just a nanny, but a full partner in raising Chloe. One Sunday, while having a picnic in the park, Chloe made a comment that perfectly summed up what they had built together. You know what I like most about our family? What? Harrison asked. That we chose to stay together. It's not because we were born together, or because you got married. It's because we love each other and decided to be a family. That's a very beautiful observation, Megan said. And you know what else? What else? When I grow up and start my own family, I'll explain to my children that family isn't just a mom and a dad. It can be anyone who truly loves you and takes care of you. And what if your children ask about grandparents, Harrison joked. They'll have Grandpa Harrison, Grandma Megan, and Great-Grandma Martha, she answered without hesitation. The naturalness with which Chloe envisioned the future, including all of them as permanent family, deeply touched both adults. Are you sure you want us to be your grandparents when you grow up? Megan asked, teasing. Of course. You are my heart parents. When I have children, you will be heart grandparents. Heart parents, and Harrison repeated. I like that definition. It's better than regular parents, Chloe said, because heart parents we choose with love, not by chance. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of this touching story and where you are watching from. If you have something to share with us, Leave it in the comments with sincere words. Do you believe Harrison learned to value what truly matters? We will be happy to read your opinion. Thank you so much for your company. Don't forget to leave your like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other touching stories like this one.